Tuesday Thoughts here on SDH. Maybe if I turn this on, that'll help out a little bit. John, here you there. Thanks for coming by, as you always do. There's a lot to get into this morning, and obviously there is, I won't call it breaking news. It's more of a developing story at this point that we'll get into as of about an hour ago when we all started rolling out of the bed. We'll get into that to bat leadoff. There's a boatload of tournaments that we've got to get into. We have to get into CONCACAF because that starts tonight. We've got to get into Champions League because that kicks back in this afternoon. Libertadores and Sudamericana kick off tonight, and that literally is just the beginning of everything. We're going to go back over what happened in the rest of the weekend in Major League Soccer. Going to go back over what happened in the weekend in NWSL. Kacey White is going to join us at 10 o'clock, and we will find out what's on Kacey's mind. She was at RSL. Atlanta United fans have seen plenty of RSL. Now Sporting Kansas City fans have seen the same. Go over that win for RSL and the young talent that was on display for her. She was there actually a day early, and I think she got to catch Chicago and Utah in the NWSL. Talk a little bit about that. What's wrong with Chicago and where Utah is. Utah, they were pretty much hanging out with Chicago at the bottom of the standings, and so we'll find out where both of those teams are in her mind. Like I said, we'll go over the rest of NWSL from the week and go over news and notes and thoughts and everything there. Obviously, there's other stuff to get into when it comes to going around the planet. There's all the news that's going on. We'll get into that as we go this morning. So, opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. Starting your day with the most important stories in the game, the right way to start your morning. Black Pitch Coffee, part of the SDH community, showing up at events all over Atlanta. Try their home blend made with beans from Brazil and Guatemala, heavy-bodied, notes of walnut and semi-sweet chocolate, and a rich world-class finish. Opening kickoff, powered by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. If you are a fan of what is going on with the U.S. men's national team, I'm sure you're pretty pissed right now. And what happened there is Patrick Ajimong yesterday, as of going down for an injury, Darby County confirmed this morning he's ruptured his Achilles and he's going to miss the World Cup. And obviously it's a big blow to the United States up top because you wanted to have Big Pat as the that influence up top for you. And as it turns out, the injury that was there is a confirmed ruptured Achilles. And you could tell by his reaction yesterday when he went down and had to be helped off that that now is going to create a gap for the U.S. when it comes to their different personalities up top. And now you're looking at, all right, so how are we going to replace what he brings to the table? Yesterday, it was a 2-0 win for Darby County over Stoke. He had to be taken off by a stretcher in the first half. Darby came out with the statement that they came out with for their evaluation. Then this morning, about an hour ago, it was revealed that it ended up as a ruptured Achilles. And so 6 goals in 14 U.S. M&T matches since making his debut last year, 10 in 37 for Darby this year, as they were challenging for a playoff spot, as they are challenging for a playoff spot in the championship. And now that obviously rules him out of the last 5 regular season matches for Darby County. And they are 8th right now, meaning Darby County, 2 places outside the playoff picture. And so that means, obviously, that it is now also a blow to the depth for the USM&T up top. And so Ajimong and Pepe, they were trying to battle for who was going to be getting more playing time between the two. At 6'4", Ajimong gave you a different look. He gave you that power forward that you were looking for, and it was a different frame set. So you had Balogun, Ajimong, Pepe, Haji Wright. And so now you're looking at no longer having Patrick Ajimong as a part of that discussion going into the final 2 exhibition matches before you head into the World Cup. And so now it is up to those other individuals. Once again, it's Pepe, Balogun, Haji Wright looking for space on the World Cup roster. No word as of yet, recovery time for something like that. Obviously, when it comes to what we have seen here in Atlanta in the footprint for recovery time, depends on the individual. And all we have to do really is look at Brad Gazan and find out just how superhuman he is when it comes to recovery. And so you'll keep an eye on Patrick Ajimong, but obviously he will not be a part of things for the World Cup, won't be a part of things for the finish for Derby County. And now you're looking at, say, what? Festive fixtures at the earliest, 2026, to have any kind of a return for Patrick Ajimong. And this is if he hits all of the traffic lights early and doesn't pressure his return, but still does what he's supposed to be doing when it comes to rehabilitation. So you're looking at New Year's for Big Pat in Derby County, but yes, no Patrick Ajimong for Derby County, no Patrick Ajimong for the U.S. men's national team. Ruptured his Achilles, or suffers the serious Achilles injury, and he is out for obviously the foreseeable future. And so obviously you are obviously giving your best vibes to Patrick Ajimong, considering what he has been able to do and what we have been able to see from Ajimong since he basically started when we were looking at him as a part of things in MLS Next Pro and with Crown Legacy. So he's gone from Crown Legacy to Derby County, and now he's going to be recovering because of the Achilles injury that happened. That is now there with Patrick Ajimong at Derby County and the U.S. men's national team. So a big absence. That was confirmed this morning by Derby County, and Patrick Ajimong is going to be out for a while. So that officially is opening kickoff. I wish it was a more optimistic one, but that was the news that came across our bow this morning. Brought to you by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. Starting your day with the most important stories in the game, the right way to start your morning. Black Pitch Coffee, part of the SDH community, showing up at events all over Atlanta. Try their home blend made with beans from Brazil and Guatemala, heavy-bodied, notes of walnut and semi-sweet chocolate, and a rich world-class finish. Opening kickoff, powered by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. And just to kind of give you a quick reminder, if you're not reading Morning Espresso, then you're starting your soccer day morning without the full picture. Jason and the rest of us here at SDH putting it out there every day. It's free, lands in your inbox before you need it. If you don't subscribe to it yet, you can. You can go to soccerdownhere.net and get the complete and total lowdown of everything going on in and around the planet, stuff that we don't have time to cover. And Jason gives it to you in newsletter form. And there are some mornings where it is also out in podcast form. So set your notifications as well if you haven't when it comes to all of us here at Soccer Down Here when we release new material, whether it is the new Morning Espresso, audio form, video form, newsletter form, SDH, all the things. You can subscribe and make it a daily habit and have that as a part of your morning reading. Going to soccerdownhere.net and subscribing and picking up Morning Espresso, brought to us by our friends at Oglethorpe University. A quick programming reminder that tonight it is going to be high school soccer on the network, and we will be up at Johnson Gainesville for the Johnson Gainesville match with Westminster. And it is going to be right there for you. And it will be a big match all the way across the board. And so you have now it's listed it's at 5:30 and 7:30. So let me double check this, and I will let you know what we're staring at here. Let me go to Johnson Gainesville High School. So I thought initially that it was just the one match at 6:30, but if it's two matches at 5:30 and 7:30, then so be it. Let's see. let's see if it's one match or if it's two, and we will find out what the rundown is here. Sports and clubs, athletics. And so we need a schedule. And so today, 5:30 and 7:30, according to the school schedule. So 5:30 and 7:30, it is girls action and boys, Westminster and Johnson Gainesville. So we'll have that for you on the network, and we'll be up there for those matchups and let you know what's going on when it comes to these two schools so far. And we'll break it all down for you on the boys and the girls side. So boys varsity, last time out for them, and now the Westminster folks are saying that it's 5 and 7. So we'll find out either one either way. So somewhere in here, it's going to be a doubleheader that with either 5 and 7 or 5:30 and 7:30 when it comes to the matchup with both of these teams. So we'll let you know what's going on. And yeah, this is all over the place. Okay. So the Johnson Gainesville website lists, if that's the word I'm looking for, lists what's happening tonight at 5:30 and 7:30. Westminster's girls soccer website does not have a game listed. The next game they have listed is next week when they're back from spring break after losing to Blessed Trinity 1-0. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and check JV, and let me see if there's anything with the JV. So the JV schedule for Westminster's boys is over. And all right, so let me check Instagram here. This is, I am literally going down a rabbit hole because I'm getting so much conflicting information. So let's see, Johnson, and I apologize for this, but this is kind of important because it has to do with the games on the network tonight. I mean, I'm leaving at 2:30 or so. So that is not a, either way I'm going up there. So that's the easy part. We know that there's going to be games, and we have to find out if there are actual games or game plural. So let's see. First Choice Realty. Oh, okay. So tell you what. What if we go to the? I know this is incredibly. I know this is incredibly riveting television, so hang on just a second. Access North Georgia. So what if we go here and have that crash? That's good. WDUN radio. How about that? So it's all over the place. All right. So we'll post it. All right. So I'm getting like 4 different things here. And according to the Johnson website, it's 5:30 and 7:30. According to Westminster's boys site, they have one. They do not have both. And according to other things like Instagram and all of that, it looks like it's one matchup. So one way or the other, we're going to find out when these soccer matches are. All right, so Johnson boys. So Johnson boys schedule. Okay. Now, JV schedule back on February 9th. The varsity schedule for the boys. Come on. So April 7th against Westminster is confirmed on the boys' side. So then we go to the girls' side, 2026 schedule. And they do not have a game listed tonight. So I'm thinking that it's just the one, and we'll find out when there is like I said, when there is a match. I think it's 6:30. I think it's just the one match, and I think it's just 6:30. Since I'm getting so much conflicting information, we'll figure it out, but I think it's only one. And so it would be just the boys, and I think it's 6:30, and we will keep you posted as to all of that. And it's going to be on the network. I'll come on a couple minutes early, and it is 5:30 to 9:30 listed on the schedule, on the school schedule. So who knows? We'll find out. But there's like 3 different things that have been posted, but we'll figure it out. And if it's one match, it's one match. If it's two, it's two. It's on the network. Go to soccerdownhere.net, and you can find out when we're live, and I'll keep you posted because I'll be up there. And just keep an eye out on your social media for all of the matches that we have going on. We're getting ready because there are 9 days left in the regular season, and we will let you know what's going on there. And we have matches slated for this Friday. Once again, tail end of spring break, and that's the real problem here, is that some folks want to have a non-region match during spring break. No, it might have some roster rotation, things like that. Some folks may not. And so trying to find those matchups has been what we always like to do here, and trying to find those matchups of the clubs that we haven't had the chance to really catch up to a lot about. And, we find them and we broadcast them for you. But next Thursday is decision day. So that's when the last day of the regular season is. Everybody figures out, okay, are we in, are we out? Are we power ranking our way into a tournament? Does our lot in life improve if we are in a power ranking? And instead of being like only 4 teams coming out of a region, is it 5 or 6? So we'll find out all of that next Thursday. Next Friday, we should have better answers for you, getting you ready for the Nashville game with Atlanta United and Nashville. But we'll have all of the high school action for you presented by our friends at Kaiser Permanente. Obviously, we couldn't do anything without them, and we thank them for all of the effort and the trust that they have in us. But so tonight, I think it's one match. I think it's 6:30 at Johnson, Gainesville, and Westminster. Nothing listed on the girls' schedule between now and the 14th. Nothing listed time-wise that isn't conflicting. So school says 5:30, 7:30. Boys have said 6:30. Westminster's website says 7. So it's going to be in there somewhere, and we'll figure it out for you. But we will be having a boys match at least on the network from Johnson, Gainesville tonight, going up against Westminster. Time TBA, so just keep your social media squared away, and we'll let you know. And I'll be on the call for that one because Jason has Atlanta soccer tonight, and Maddie is taking some well-earned and well-deserved time off. She is staring at the ocean, I believe. And so if she posts anything to social media, that'll confirm it. Okay. Ooh. All right. So morning, David. Gale force winds and rain. Yeah, I've been watching Upstate Compilation, bird. And okay, so Upstate Compilation, you at least get my credit for saying that you are absolutely linked to a Russian website. So we got our first bot of the morning. And so that's going to go away. And we will report this particular entity. But yeah, David, I am looking at the Weather Channel, and I always like to do that, especially on game days, so I can sit there and find out what the weather's going to be. And I'm staring at the live shots that are there that are posted from Central Florida, and they're from the Gulf Coast, kind of looking at the rain coming in. So yes, we see all the winds and rain, and making sure that people are reminded, if it's a double red flag, don't go out in the water. Don't do it. So that's where we are. But Upstate Compilation, GTID RNJ actually tapped to a Russian website. I give them credit for that, for at least being honest about it, instead of something like Streamboo. But no, you get full credit for linking to a Russian website. You get no further credit because you've been blocked and reported. So our first bot of the morning. All right. Let's get into all the things. And what I mean by that is there's a lot to get into. Kacey White coming in 10 o'clock, about 35 minutes, and we'll go over everything that is happening in and around Major League Soccer and all of that. But today it is getting you ready for CONCACAF, for Champions League, for Libertadores, and for Sudamericana. And so when Kacey joins us at 10 o'clock, we'll start our review session of Sporting, Kansas City, and RSL, and the NWSL, and we'll take you through the rest of the day as well. So now, tonight, 8 o'clock, it is the beginning of the CONCACAF Hemispheric Extravaganza's next leg, and we get to see how teams might be able to step up and let you know what's going on who's going to be the best of the final 8 in CONCACAF. And so this is something to kind of keep an eye on if you're an Atlanta United supporter. And what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is this. You have the fixture tonight with Nashville and Club America. And you're going, well, that doesn't affect me yet. No, it does not. But next week it will. When you have the second leg next week, then you have Nashville coming from Liga MX to turn around and have a couple days rest to take on Atlanta United. Like I said, Nashville tonight at Geodis, 8 o'clock start. The juice boxes haven't changed much. Plus 137 for Nashville. And it is a plus 210 for Club America. Draws a plus 229. And obviously the loss that happened for Nashville on the weekend when they were in Chicago. And like I said, we'll catch up with Max Anderson on Thursday, the play-by-play voice of the Chicago Fire, and we will find out what is on his mind after a 1-0 win. So we'll get his thoughts about Nashville on the whole. But Nashville's lineup, just to give you an idea of what it looked like, and this is the one of the more potent offenses in all of Major League Soccer. So on the weekend, when they lost 1-0 to Chicago, no real surprise in a whole lot of this lineup. But when you look at it, Mukhtar and Surge up top, Christian Espinoza, and you want to call it a 4-4-2, you can. You have Espinoza coming up the right-hand side, turning it into more 3 up top in attack. But you had a midfield 4 of Espinoza, Matthew Corcoran, Eddie Tagset, and Alex Muil. Backline, John Lovitz. You had Waleji, Palacios, Nahar, and then you had in net, you had Schweke in net. So that was the lineup you were looking at. From the bench, he brought in Patrick Yazbek. He brought in Warren Madrigal. They each played 30. Ahmed Kassem played 12-plus with Reed Baker-Whiting, and Rubens Pacius came in for a cup of coffee late. Did not use Joe Willis, Jack Mayer, Brian Acosta, and Thomas Williams. So B.J. Callahan not afraid to use all 5 subs. So you're looking at Surge, Mukhtar, Espinoza. I'm treating them as a group. Corcoran, Tagset, Alex Muil, Daniel Lovitz. You had Waleji, who had one of the higher ratings on the day as one of your center backs, Palacios, Nahar, and Schweke. So Andy Nahar had the highest rating in that game for Nashville going up against Chicago. And 5 defensive contributions, 1 both tackles, a pick, a clear, a block, 9 recoveries, 7 of 10 on his duels, all on the ground. So registered 6 different categories and had 5 defensive contributions along the way. They went up against the lineup that had Haile Selassie and Robin Lod. And then you had Zinkernagel listed in the midfield in the 4-4-2 for Greg Berhalter. De Avila, Salatros, Jonathan Bamba, Andrew Gutman, Imbokazi, Elliott, and Barroso with Chris Brady in net. And I mentioned Chris Brady yesterday to see if Chris Brady was going to be getting any kind of reps when it comes to the future of the keepers in the U.S. men's national team. Bart thought maybe as a 3, but, bring him into a couple of camps. We'll see what happens. Maybe not this time around, but as you get ready for 2030, keep an eye on Chris Brady. So looking at the numbers from this matchup with Chicago and with Nashville. Nashville had 61% possession. That's very un-Nashville-like. But, of course, when you get a goal lead in the first minute, you're kind of like, yeah, you can go ahead and have it. That's all you. So Nashville with that starting lineup and had 60% possession, but once again, it's what you do with it when you've got the ball. 2 big chances, 10 total shots both sides. 32 fouls called in the match, by the way, 19 of them on Chicago. 3 yellow cards. 3 yellow cards on 32 fouls, technically 2 on 19 and 1 on 13. So Who was the man in the middle for this one? Who was the Marcus de Oliveira? Okay. So Marcus de Oliveira decided he wanted to use his whistle a lot. Passing for Nashville, passes in the final third was practically 2.5 times the number that Chicago had. 180 passes in the final third, completing 120. They had 28 long balls compared to 19. Unsuccessful on 14 crosses. So like I said, this is just kind of information from this matchup against Chicago that you can file and bring with you, not this weekend, but next. Looking at Nashville, looking at Chicago, like I said, we'll get into Chicago more in depth on Thursday when Max Anderson comes by. But 0 for 14 in crosses for Nashville. So I want to find out on Thursday what it was that Chicago did after a 1-goal lead that shut Nashville down. Did they just back it up and sit there and go, yeah, we're going to just have the MTA just kind of sit there and hang out with us for an entire 89 minutes? That'll be the answers that Max Anderson will give us on Thursday. But Nashville, coming off of that effort, is at home, benefit there. Club America coming in, not a benefit. And so when you have the depth of that lineup coming into your barn in the first, in this tournament, that is going to be a tall task. Like I said, you're slightly favored, but it's going to be a tall task for you. Last time out for Club America, they drew against Santos Laguna back on the weekend, and their lineup was Alex Zendejas and Vega and Rodriguez. Zuniga was up top, Dorado and Sanchez in the middle, and it was basically a 4-2-3-1 for Club America in this matchup. Zuniga up top, 3 in the attack behind him, Zendejas, Vega, and Rodriguez. Sanchez and Dorado, your two midfielders that were laying back. And then you had a backline of Vasquez, Suarez, Reyes, and Alvarez with Cota in net for Andre Jardine. He did not play Tapia, Caceres, Thiago Espinoza, or Alan Cervantes. He did play Jonah Dos Santos, and they had 6 subs in this one. Lima came in after 16 minutes, so you have to keep an eye out for the injury to Eric Sanchez, who only played 14 minutes or 16 minutes on the weekend. And then, obviously, you try to go for strategic subs, and Zuniga and Alvarez lasted 67 minutes. Alvarez and Vega and Dorado and Alex Zendejas were all pulled with 10 minutes to go. So what does it look like for Andre Jardine as he comes into Geodis tonight? It was a 1-1 draw with Santos on the weekend. So I'm intrigued, but it's always traditionally very, very tough. I would not anticipate a whole lot of goals being scored in this matchup. And so we'll find out what it looks like in those two, that one tonight. Your late one, obviously, LAFC and Cruz Azul. LAFC, no surprise that they are favored considering what they did to Orlando on the weekend, and it was over. It was over. And, I mean, it was done early. D-U-N, done. And I mean, and it wasn't even that, you go in and you watch the first half and you sit there and go, yeah, okay, I'm good. In that one, LA put 6 on the purple team. 6. Started with an OG from David Brecalo 7 minutes in. Then a natural hat trick. When was the last time you saw a natural hat trick? Denny Bouanga got 3 goals in 8 minutes. Don't tell me when his contract is up that it won't be a devil of a time or close to being a year out on his contract being up. Don't tell me that there won't be teams around the planet chasing after Denny Bouanga. He is going to make LAFC a nice chunk of change when it gets to that point of his contract. Think a year out, he's going to want to be going to other places. He might want to go to Europe, might want to go to South America. He'll make LAFC a good bit of money. Natural hat trick for Denny Bouanga. Palencia scored in the 39th. It was 5-0 at the break. 5-0 at the break against the purple team. Tyler Boyd would score with 20 to go to make it 6. Martin Perelman, as far as I know, is still the interim involving with the purple team. But if you're Antoine Griezmann, seriously, if you're Antoine Griezmann in all of this, and you have signed this massive contract to be a part of the purple team, what's going through your mind right now? Maybe you're just focused on La Liga and you're not necessarily thinking about what's going to be happening come the spring and summer with the purple team, with the massive alleged contract that was signed, terms not disclosed publicly, but it was listed as the largest contract that Orlando has signed for a player. If you're Antoine Griezmann right now, what are you thinking? What are you thinking? So that to me is one of the things here. If I'm Antoine Griezmann, I'm sitting there thinking, do I have like an expiration date on this thing? Can I get a take back? Because you're coming into this and you had a team give up 6. There's a reason that LAFC is doing well. Their lineup, by the way, probably going to get rolled over tonight. Bouanga, Youngmin Son, and Tyler Boyd up top, listed as a 4-3-3. Timothy Tillman, Nathan Ordaz, Mark Delgado, Hollingsworth, Nkosi Tafari, Ryan Porteous, and Sergi Palencia, with Hugo Lloris in net. So I would anticipate that would be the lineup going in, maybe some rotation at some certain points. But that would be the lineup for me going into this matchup against Cruz Azul tonight. And just for the record, when you look at the Cruz Azul lineup from the weekend, just for the sake of having the records out there, so for Nicolas Larcamon, they lost to Pachuca on the weekend. They're second in the table. They're 4 points out of the lead. Kennedy scored in the 58th. Kennedy lineups for Cruz Azul basically is a 3-5. It's like a 3-4-2-1. So it could drift into a 5 at the back if you needed. Andre Godinho was in net. Piovi, remember Piovi and all the Piovi talk a couple years ago? Piovi, Moreno, and Dita, your 3 center backs. Ebere Marquez, you had wearing the captain's armband was Carlos Rodriguez, and it was Barragan was your 4th midfielder. In the attack, Paradela and Luca Romero, and they were laying behind Ibanez, and Nico Ibanez was your starter at striker for Cruz Azul on the weekend. For Nico Larcamon on the bench, Campos, Fernandez, Amari Morales, and Andres Montano. Eric Lira was part of a triple change with 10 to go, and he did not play 3 academy players, Christian Jimenez or Kevin Meir. So, and Pallavicino did not play because he had yellow card accumulation in the match. So I would also anticipate Pallavicino playing for Cruz Azul in that matchup late tonight going up against LAFC. But LAFC obviously favored. No real shock there. Once again, at a plus 114, your draw is a plus 240, and Cruz Azul is a plus 250. So that's tonight. And we'll talk about the juice boxes again tomorrow with what happens tonight. Tigres tomorrow hosting Seattle. Tigres is a minus 161 at 9 o'clock tomorrow night Eastern time. Draws a plus 300. Seattle is a plus 425. Toluca at home at the Estadio Nemesio Diaz taking on LAG. LA Galaxy are a plus 700. No surprise there. Draws a plus 425, and Toluca is a minus 270. And yes, Ropes, I would anticipate there's going to be a lot of yellow cards tonight. A lot of yellow cards at Geodas in that matchup with Club America. So obviously, we'll keep an eye on the 2 matches tonight in CONCACAF. We'll let you know what's going on there. And obviously, we'll have your highlights in your post, and we'll play that up for you again tomorrow. Champions League. That is today. Europa League and Conference League, by the way, they're not messing around either. That is tomorrow and Thursday for Europa League. And they're down to the final 8. And Conference League is down to the final 8. And they are all playing on Thursday. Happy to be here. FC is still in Conference League contention. Crystal Palace, they're at home in Conference League. So it's Rayo Vallecano, AEK Athens, Shakhtar and AZ Alkmaar, Crystal Palace and Fiorentina. Fiorentina's a big dog heading to Selhurst Park. Mainz and Strasbourg. That's your final 8 in Conference League. And those are all, once again, that's on Thursday. Then in the Europa League, Braga and Betis tomorrow. Then you have Bologna, Aston Villa, Freiburg, Celta de Vigo, and Porto and Nottingham Forest. You could have, and there was a scenario that was posted, you could have half of the Premier League playing in European football next year because of the teams that are still alive in Europa and Conference. If you had those teams that are outside of the top 6 or 7 making inroads in European competitions and winning those comps, that means that other teams would be eligible down the line. So if, say, let's say Villa was to win Europa, and I think they are favored. So if Villa wins Europa, then that opens up another spot down the line. So if you have the teams in your respective Premier League competitions winning and they're above like 7, and they win, that creates spots down below. So say Manchester City wins Champions League. That would open up a spot. Aston Villa wins Europa League, and I think they are one of the favorites in the juice boxes right now to win the competition. So if they were to win, that would open it up, and you'd have like 9 spots available. And then I think if Crystal Palace won Conference League, that would mean that half of the teams would be accessible, or Forest, to European football, and you'd have to create other spots. So you could have anywhere from 9 to 11 teams from the Premier League looking at playing in Europe next year, if certain things fall a certain way. So you've got that to look forward to. Ropes, thinking about all the fans wearing yellow. I'm wondering if one of them is going to be wearing their navy blue jerseys tonight. So just keep an eye out that. If they wore both yellow, then it would be an announcer's nightmare. And we'll find out from the announcers who's calling it tonight, and we'll find out how much of a nightmare it is at 8 o'clock. But, yeah, if they both wore yellow, I think somebody probably brought their alternate top. Worst case, then Nashville would just switch into wear their dress blues or whatever. But, yeah, if they were both wearing their yellows, the announcers would be having fits. I don't think that like I said, I think that somebody probably packed an alternate. And besides, since it's in Nashville, I'm sure that they've got their blue kits hanging around there somewhere in case of emergency. They just break glass and they bring out the others. So that would be intriguing to say the very least if they both came out wearing yellow during warm-ups and everybody's like, yo, fam, hang on just a second. Somebody's got to change. And then you find out who brought their alternate tops. It'd be like Nashville just to have theirs washed. It would be like Nashville just to have theirs. It's like ours are in the wash. We can't find them, something like that. But keep an eye on that once again, 8 o'clock tonight. Late game tonight is LAFC, and we'll see how they are against Cruz Azul. I think it's going to be a lot tighter than people might imagine. But if it's up and running tonight and they let you do it, see if you can find a way to listen to Dave Denholm out west starting at 10 o'clock, the play-by-play voice for LAFC, and we'll find out what it's like out there going up against Cruz Azul. Champions League. This is where I was going before I was sidetracked, and I know you're all surprised. So Champions League today, Sporting and Arsenal. And when we catch up with our friend Nino Torres on Thursday, we'll have this result to talk to him about Sporting and whether or not Arsenal, who is favored, by the way, on the road, if Arsenal can snap out of their funk that happened in the FA Cup weekend. And now that the tape is out on Arsenal, and they've been saying all the right things, that you take the energy from losing in a tournament that you thought you had the inside track on, take that energy and apply it to what's going on for the rest of the Premier League season, apply it to Champions League, all those things. They're saying all the right things. But let's see if it can apply. Arsenal minus 114. Draw at Sporting in Portugal is a plus 280, and Sporting to win is a plus 320. The other matchup at 3 o'clock, heavyweights. Real Madrid hosting Bayern Munich. And so if you are in a position to be near a television or an audio device, that would be heavyweight battles right there. Bayern Munich. Harry Kane apparently has shaken off whatever knock he had. And so Bayern Munich and Real Madrid. Bayern Munich favored at a plus 135. Then you have the home team who is an underdog at the Bernabeu at a plus 165, and your draw is a plus 309. I'm not really anticipating a whole lot of goals in this one. I'm really not. But it will be I am intrigued once again with this one to see what it looks like. Like I said, I'm not anticipating a whole lot of goals. I'm really not. So we'll see what happens in those two. At 3 o'clock, Sporting hosting Arsenal, Real Madrid hosting Bayern Munich. And just for the record, tomorrow, Barcelona and Atletico de Madrid, they've never played each other before. Barcelona to minus 182. Atletico de Madrid is a plus 425. Draws a plus 409. PSG and Liverpool tomorrow. Liverpool is a big underdog at a plus 340. PSG is a minus 135. And then draws a plus 320 for PSG and Liverpool tomorrow. But today, Arsenal favored on the minus side, taking on Sporting. Bayern Munich favored on the plus side, which is interesting. Bayern Munich favored on the plus side at a plus 135. So if you dig Bayern Munich, you can get them on the plus side today. Plus 135 right now. Kickoff at 3 o'clock going up against Real Madrid. So that's the rundown of Champions League, and that is the rundown of the CONCACAF Hemispheric Extravaganza. So that's your rundown of those. We've also got Libertadores and Sudamericana. There's going to be a new Howard Hamilton Soccermetrics Copa Libertadores program that's going to be out around noon, previewing what's happening tonight. And it is you have all of the groups. They're all lined up now. And you have FGH. Is that 32? To A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. 8 and 4 is 32. So 8 groups of 4. Top 2 in each group win, and then you figure out, okay, who are your top 3, who are your top third-place teams, and they go. So round number 1 tonight, it is 6 o'clock has a couple, 8 o'clock has a couple, 8:30 has one match, and 10 o'clock has a match. And then it starts from there, and it kicks back in tomorrow. So to go by time, it is La Guaira and Fluminense. And in that matchup, do we have juice boxes in these? Do we? Yes. La Guaira is a plus 500. Fluminense is a minus 161. Draw is a plus 280. And so this is at the Estadio de la UCV, and it's on Fanatis. And this is the other reason we talk about Libertadores and Sudamericanas. You can get that at Fanatis at fntz.co/soccer down here. That link is important. It's important to us, important to you, and important to them because you get to add more matches to everything you're already watching with Fanatis. You get BN. You get all the BNs, which means you get Turkish League, French League, Polish League. You get Libertadores. You get Sudamericana. You get all of the A and B divisions from a lot of different nations in South America to add to your viewing. You get the CAF Champions League. You get AFCON. You get TVV out of Venezuela. If you want to add it to your service, you can. But if you've got cable at home, you can add a certain package and you get TVV, and it wouldn't cost as much, I wouldn't think. But you get all the BNs, Liga 1 Max Pro out of Peru, all of them in one place at Fanatis at fntz.co/soccer down here. So tonight you get Libertadores and Sudamericana on Fanatis, attached to everything else. So La Guaira and Fluminense, 6 o'clock. Fluminense, no real surprise. They are a massive favorite. Also in Libertadores tonight, you get Independiente Rivadavia. And no, that was not what I hit. That was not what I hit going forward. And let's see if it behaves. Okay, so Independiente Rivadavia and Bolivar, that is also at 6 o'clock tonight. And that's Group C's action. And I would not be surprised if at the Estadio Malvinas Argentinas, that Rivadavia is a favorite, and they are at a minus 208. It has gone down to that number. Draws a plus 333. Bolivar on the road is a plus 550. Once again, that one is at 6 o'clock tonight, and you can pick that one up on Fanatis along with all the other matchups. Group D at 8 o'clock, Barcelona and Cruzeiro. Barcelona at home is a plus 190 at the Monumental. The Monumental Banco Pichincha. It's on being extra, by the way. Barcelona is a plus 190. Cruzeiro, slight favorite at a plus 163. And your draw is a plus 200 in Libertadores for that particular matchup. We mentioned Barcelona and Cruzeiro there. Always Ready out of Group G is also at 8 o'clock, one of our favorites. Always Ready and LDU. 8 o'clock at the Estadio Municipal de Alto, which basically means you're playing in high country. It's going to be probably one of the great equalizers for Always Ready. Always Ready, favorite at a plus 110, draws a plus 260, and LDU is a plus 225 on the road. In El Alto, Bolivia, the Estadio Municipal de El Alto. Yeah, nothing like a high stadium in Bolivia. 8:30, it is Universidad Católica and Boca Juniors, and that one is at Claro Arena. Universidad Católica is a plus 250. No surprise, Boca is a plus 130. Boca Juniors, and your draw is a plus 210. And that one is in Santiago, Chile. Tolima and Universitario is at 10 o'clock tonight. And that one is at Estadio Manuel Murillo Toro, 10 o'clock. And Tolima is a plus 110. Universitario is now up to a plus 333. Your draw is a plus 190. And so that is your rundown of Libertadores tonight. And Ibagué, Colombia, that's going to be happening tonight. That's Libertadores. We've got Sudamericana tonight also. And like I said, this is going to be a night for all of the tournaments and all the things. You've got Champions League this afternoon. You've got CONCACAF tonight. You've got Libertadores tonight. You've got Sudamericana tonight. Sao Paulo and Boston River is at 8:30. Sao Paulo is a minus 149. Boston River is a plus 425, and your draw is a plus 275. Independiente and Racing Club, they're at 6, along with Barracas and Vasco. Group C has O'Higgins and Millonarios and Boston River and Sao Paulo. Boston River Sao Paulo is at 8:30. And Alianza Atletico and Tigre is at 10 o'clock. So you have how many matchups here? You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in Sudamericana tonight. You got a handful in Libertadores tonight. You got Triple C tonight with CONCACAF. You got Champions League this afternoon. And we'll talk about, obviously, all of it again tomorrow as we break down everything. Dylan Butler is going to join us at 10 o'clock tomorrow. And Costa Smirniotis, the Executive Vice President of the Canadian Premier League, who was on a plane on Monday and couldn't join us, is going to join us Wednesday at 10:30 to talk about everything with their new rules. I'm not going to say changes, but their trials, the Wenger offside trial, the challenge card trial, officials counting allowed literally like to 5 when it comes to keepers and bringing balls back into play off of free kicks. All of those things we're going to get into with Costa Smirniotis tomorrow and break down everything going on in the Canadian Premier League that they are breaking down and they're having as a part of their activity this year. So very, very cool stuff from them. And we're going to find out about that Wednesday at 10:30 rolling forward. So busy night across the board when it comes to everything in competitions. Libertadores, Sudamericana, CONCACAF, Champions League. There's a lot of action going on to kick things off. And like I said, you're going to have a new Libertadores program from Howard Hamilton and Soccermetrics. That's going to be out around lunchtime. And so you can have that as your setup going into tonight and getting you ready for everything. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo, what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. We'll get into that before Kacey White joins us at 10 o'clock. And we will break it all down for you there. and what to watch. Let's go ahead and do that. And once again, you can get a lot of that at our friends at Fanati's. So today, BN has Polish League at 1 o'clock, and then they have access to 3 matches, Sudamericana and Libertadores, 6, 8:30, and 10. FS2 has your doubleheader in CONCACAF. BN and Espanol simulcasting BN. 2 to NA has Real Madrid and Bayern Munich at 3, and then they have the CONCACAF matches at 8 and 10. Univision simulcasting Real Madrid and Bayern Munich. Golazo Network has League 2, Bromley and Shrewsbury. Right now, Bromley is atop the League 2 standings, 4 points clear, if I believe. Shrewsbury Town is trying to stay afloat in League 2. That's at 3 o'clock. Fox ONE has your CONCACAF doubleheader. Paramount Plus has Wrexham and Southampton. That is game number 1 in picks of the week. So choose wisely. Juice Boxes had it frozen at both sides being the same. So it's like a draw or you pick the draw. Both sides were to plus 160 when we talked about it last night on picks of the week. So Wrexham and Southampton, match number 1, picks of the week. They've got League 2 on Paramount Plus, and then the 2 matchups in Champions League. On the women's side, you just have the 1 match in Fox ONE has CONMEBOL Nations League with Venezuela and Argentina. That's at 7 o'clock tonight. Now, what's the gossip, rumor, and innuendo before Kacey White joins us coming up at 10 o'clock. All of the rumors, all the things. Harry Maguire has signed a new Manchester United contract. It is at a discount. Minnesota United came out with a statement yesterday discussing James Rodriguez and his hydration issues, said it was just severe hydration. They denied, and when you bring out the rhabdo word, they denied specifically that was the case, that the rhabdomyolysis was not a part of the discussion. They vehemently denied that as a part of his hydration challenges. They said severe hydration, that's it. He's being treated by our doctors. I'm paraphrasing the release that came out late yesterday afternoon, but they denied rhabdomyolysis. When you have to deny rhabdo, that's how serious the rumor mill got involving James. Neymar had a knee procedure over the break, according to Kuka. Aaron Ramsey announced his immediate retirement after 6 matches in 3 months with Pumas, I believe. And Weston McKennie gets another goal goal in the win for Juve. And so that was big for them as they continue to charge inside Serie A. Now, Manchester United and Liverpool stepping up interest in AS Monaco star Magnus Akliouche ahead of the summer, according to Team Talk. Both teams sent scouts to watch the action against Marseille in Ligue 1. Inter Milan defender Alessandro Bastoni pushing to complete a move to Barca quickly, according to Mundo Deportivo, as he looks to agree on personal terms. 26, Barca's top target to improve the backline. Italy national believes that the sooner negotiations start, sooner a move can happen. Sport reports Bologna center back Jean Lucumi could be a cheaper alternative and would cost 25 as opposed to 60 million euro. Ibrahima Konate, increasingly likely to extend his stay at Liverpool, enters the final few months of his deal. According to L'Equipe, claims the defender wants his future ironed out before the World Cup. Interest from La Liga, signing another deal. He wants to do that at Liverpool as they build a backline for the future with the anticipated arrival of Jeremy Jacquet at 60 million euro. Camavinga has no intention of leaving Real Madrid in the upcoming window, according to Florian Plettenberg. Linked with a potential exit, club open to offers around 50 million euro to sign the midfielder. However, despite rumors over interest of PSG and Liverpool, he wants to stay at Real Madrid. Contract runs through 29. Juve made inquiries over a move for Al Hilal striker Darwin Nunez, according to Gianluca Di Marzio. Former Liverpool forward has had a tough debut after being unregistered for the second half of the campaign. Other rumors quickly. Ugarte set to leave United in the summer. Newcastle, Spurs, Juve, Milan, Galatasaray are interested. Barcelona open to letting Ferran Torres leave in the summer. They've also informed Joao Cancelo's agent, Jorge Mendes, about their desire to keep the defender when his loan spell at Al Hilal ends in the summer. Barca not actively looking to move Alejandro Balda this summer. AS Roma made contact over a move for Julian Brandt, who will be a free agent when he leaves Dortmund at the end of the year. Strasbourg's Diego Moreira is moved to a club on a permanent deal from Chelsea in 24 as a target for Borussia Dortmund. And Juve set to trigger the permanent signing option in Jeremy Boga's loan deal from Nice, according to Nicola Shira. Now, 10 o'clock. I filibustered right to 10 o'clock. Now it's time to catch up with KCD, and we find out where KCD be. And find out where she is on the planet. And we're going to go over everything that happened on her road trip. She had a busy road trip. She was in Salt Lake City in the Mountain Time Zone. Did you see?
Good morning.
Morning. You saw both games, didn't you?
I did. Yes. It was a good trip. It was nice and full and busy.
Yeah. And so we saw, I do want to talk about the NWSL game that you saw at the end of things. And any kind of early thoughts you have about Chicago specifically and Utah as they're kind of trying to grow and turn the page. But where's Owen, by the way?
Right below me, laying down.
Mm-hmm. So he's like, mommy's home, and I'm making sure that she does not leave anytime soon.
Exactly.
Yeah, Rowdy Man is here in his bed. He's like literally right there. So
that's the spot.
That's
where you're supposed to be.
Ignoring all of the conversations. You're talking too loudly, and I'm over it. So you've got to focus on not talking so loud. The second match that you watched this weekend when you were in Rio Tinto had to do with Sporting Kansas City and with the homestanding Real Salt Lake folks. Was this your first time calling a game at the Riot?
It was. Yeah, first time there.
What'd you think of the vibe out there?
I loved it. I have not been to Salt Lake City in a very long time. I actually don't even remember the last time I was there in general. It was a long time ago. I think it was when I was coaching maybe the University of Oklahoma. We played Utah or something and went out there. So it's been a long time. But it was a great vibe. I loved the stadium. I loved some of the decor of the stadium. I thought it was a lot of fun. The banners that are up, all the players on the doors, and of course the field and the backdrop is unbelievable. So it made for a nice day.
No doubt. And it was a nice day for the home side. And I want to walk through all the goals eventually just to get your thoughts on it. But Atlanta United fans got to see RSL early this year. And there were a lot of injuries with RSL at the time for Pablo Mastroeni, and he was kind of forced to use a lot of the young kids. But those young kids, you sit there and you say he was forced to use them. They are showing up this season on the right-hand side of the attack and causing problems for a lot of folks here early in 26.
What we're seeing is that they're given an opportunity. It went well, and what can come from that, the confidence that can come from that, and the quality that those players do actually have. It wasn't something that was just a blip or, it was exciting because they got their first opportunity, so they showed up. You're actually seeing the real quality that they possess and how they can really stimulate the attack.
And you mentioned one of them. One of them has been injured, and he came back. And this Diego Luna guy, he's okay. I think that he's okay, and he's going to be. He better be getting a lot more consideration for national team minutes when he is healthy. But yeah, you want to talk about somebody who's creating problems and is blowing up a whole lot of stereotypes. Well, he's too short. He's too this. He's too that. Yeah, whatever. Diego Luna is a stud.
When you mention the young guys, I don't even put him in that category in my mind. I forget he's 22 years old, but Diego Luna is such a vibe. When you're around him, I got to go to training the day before, which was awesome. But he just has this air about him, having fun, but confident. And he kind of reminds me, honestly, of how Trinity Rodman is. It's this fun vibe, but they're competitive. They take it serious. They want to get after it. They want to be difference makers, but they show their personality, and it works for them. I really like that about Diego Luna, and I hadn't seen it in person. I hadn't seen it up close. And to be able to see it in training and then to watch him impact in the game, he obviously got the goal, but he was so much more than that. As you mentioned, off the right side, that right 10 position, helping stimulate the attack there.
All right, so you mentioned the goal, so we'll go ahead and play it. Courtesy of our friends at Apple TV and Major League Soccer, you'll recognize one of the two voices. The other one's Christian Miles, and the other one is that person right there. So here's goal number one, wasting no time. I think it was in the 4th minute. RSL goes up 1-0.
Operating the right-hand side of that back three. It's worked its way to Gozal. Well kept in and swept to safety. Possession, though, all too short-lived for SKC's liking. Push forward now, and here they come once again. It's Luna! He's back! And so, RSL! It's Real Salt Lake 1, SKC 0.
But it's this this breaking line pass from Noel Calascan that sets everything up. The space in front as Luna takes on. The back line drops immediately when they see how quick he is off the dribble. When they drop, he realizes that it's now time to go from distance. He keeps it low. He comes through it with pace, sneaks it right into the corner for the goal.
And he does that. And you mentioned the buildup there, just for the record. Technically listed as a 5-4-1 for RSL. Was it a 5-4-1 in the attack?
No, it was a 3-4-3 was what we had it listed as. So, but no, they had a lot of numbers forward, and they, in like the three that were like up top, it was really Gilavogi and Luna tucked in almost to create this box in midfield. So it was hard to defend against.
Yeah, you talked to Sporting Kansas City about how hard it was to defend this bunch, and it was Cabral and net. It was Engelglad and Quentin, your three center backs, Catranis, Gozo, Luna, Calascan, Spearings, Gilavogi, Solons, all heading forward at one point or another for Pablo Mastroeni. 1-0 at that point. When you looked at the Luna goal, and now that you've had time to think about it, what were some of the catalysts that you got to see in that play for RSL?
There was so much in this, but immediately it was winning the ball back right away. Then it was Calascan, who I am becoming a huge fan of. He plays it forward to break a line, so it eliminates multiple defenders. That gives Luna a lot of space. Then there's movement above Luna that is going beyond him, so the back line has to respect that. That's what I was really referring to when they had to retreat a little bit. So he had ability off the dribble to go 1v1 at Bartlow and just create that yard of space for a left-footed strike. So what I really like about this goal and what I like about the play of RSL is that you have a back three that's really solid, but you've also got Spearings and Calascan in the midfield that hold it down, make really smart, simple decisions. That allows your wingbacks and the players above you to feel free to go forward, and it occupies the back line of the opposition. So this goal, it was a great strike. It was good for Diego Luna. It was good for RSL that he got on the board, but it speaks to something bigger with the way that they play.
And it was interesting when you see Luna with possession as he's kind of working his way to the left. Literally, you see the space that is given to him by the backline of Sporting. They gave him another yard or two as he had possession and was bailing out to the left. I think it was Bartlow. Bartlow's trying to respect him, but at the same time, it's like, I need to try to give him space to figure out what he's doing. But he left his right shoulder wide open, and that gave Luna that alley to sit there and try to create the shot that eventually went in past Pulskamp.
So often from a 1v1 defending perspective, you would rather give a little bit of space than to go so aggressively that they beat you and get into a better position, whether it's closer, a better angle. But once a player is in striking distance of the goal, and that depends on the player, how far out that is, someone has to be tight enough to be able to block a shot. And Bartlow just gave a little bit too much time, a little bit too much respect, to your point. And it was 19 yards out, 20 yards out. Anyone at that level can strike and shoot from there. So that pressure has to be higher. The back line was very condensed into their own penalty box. That happened because of the immediate pass of Calascan. If he had taken 2 or 3 touches and then gone sideways and then they found Luna, they would have been able to organize better behind the ball. And they weren't able to because of the speed of play.
Yeah, and it was 1-0 at the break. What did you think about the first 45 on the whole that RSL only had the 1 goal on the board?
I thought, this is not good, because you've got Manu Garcia, you've got Dejan Jovalic on the opposite side. They don't need a whole lot to create a goal. And Real Salt Lake was so incredibly dominant that if I'm a coach, I'm sitting there going, we got to put some of those away. They hit 2 crossbars. And it wasn't like it was bad finishing. It just was, it was like there was this force field around it, to be honest. But the play was so great. A lot of times teams don't replicate that kind of dominant play in the second half. So I was a little bit worried for them, giving Sporting Kansas City the chance to solve some things tactically. But credit to Salt Lake, even though Kansas City got a little bit better, they were still able to figure out how to have that dominant play in the second half.
Okay, when we finish the highlights, I want to talk about the force field. and just kind of like the whole schlep rock thing where all you're doing is hitting crossbars and posts and nothing's happening, and you're trying and you're like 120% and nothing's happening. I want to go through that mentally. I want to put the coach's hat on for that aspect of it when we're done with the highlights.
Sounds good.
1-0 at the break. Then you end up with goal number 2 and another one of these young troublemakers. You young kids, if it's like a Scooby-Doo episode, you young kids. And it ends up with Solans getting the second goal here in the 55th, I believe. Once again, courtesy of our friends at Apple TV, and you'll hear some familiar voices.
Stylistic touchdown opens up. Gossel twisting and turning. Plays it on. Solans! Spanish style! Salt Lake are soaring. It's 2-0.
This is all in a long direct build-up. Great interchange in midfield. Gila Vogie plays this ball on. The run in behind by Gozo. Gila Vogie's run at the top of your screen. It distracts, and that allows Solans to be open. Solans goes right at the standing leg. But look at the creativity in midfield. Gozo forces him to make a decision, comes back inside. Solans goes at the standing leg of Jansen Miller, and then comes inside as a defender. You don't want to allow that cut in because now he has more angle to go to goal and is able to beat Pulskamp.
I had to let the song play out. That song just it sits there and it sticks in your brain when they score.
Well, it was such a fun atmosphere, I'll be honest. Like, it was a great time. Obviously, when the home team scores, everyone gets excited, but they were extra excited, especially when it was Luna. That first goal, it was so loud. I couldn't believe it.
It's like the bouncy house at McDonald's, or Chuck E. Cheese. The back heel that kind of sprung things up the right-hand side in that second goal, that was filthy.
It was. And I addressed that actually. Obviously, I didn't do it in the replay, but about a minute later, we were talking about it. And the reason I addressed it was because, one, technically it was fun. It was filthy, to your point. But what I said was, this is a team that is confident because he had players right on his back. If they lose possession there, Gozo running beyond him actually is a very risky move. Like, he could just support him underneath, keep possession, and go. But he just was a willing runner and trusted that Gila Vogie was going to figure something out, or he was going to clear space for someone else to come underneath. I think that says a lot about how Real Salt Lake is playing in general.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's like if you're keying on Luna, that means that Solans is open. If you're keying on those two, that means that Gila Vogie's available. If you're keying on those three, that means that something's there with Xavier Gozo. And it's like, it is literally now with RSL, with these young guys, it is pick your poison, because it's okay if positional gravity and reputational gravity create a double team and you're bracketing somebody, that means that somebody else is open. And literally it is trying to figure out, okay, which one do we bracket on a possession by possession basis? And then for the imagination of all these kids, okay, who's open? I'll have a little fun, a little dink here, and then you're off and running. It's like, it's hard to pin down who you can double at any given moment with them, especially in transition.
It certainly is. And a lot of that has to do with the reliability of their holding midfielders, especially Kalaskan, but also Spearings, that all those players above them can interchange. And it's a nightmare for oppositions. They interchange. I mean, in the second half, Gozo was like playing off the central part of the field and going left, and he was still the right wing back. And you're going like, what is happening right now? And so to your point, their structure coupled with their confidence is allowing all that interchange and that movement. This goal was a prime example of that. And I was so happy for Solans. He did so much in that first half. Unselfish runs. I'm not even talking about 30-yard runs, which he had towards the end of the first half, but little darting runs that make a defender move, that clear space for other people. Then he hit the crossbar twice. And those two crossbars, I don't know if he could have handled those situations much better. It felt very unlucky. And then he does everything right in this finishing moment against Miller. And it was just a wonderful goal for him. You could see the relief. I think I even started like my comment about this was like relief for Solans, because he just fell over in his celebration after scoring the goal.
Nasty plunge for Solans after he makes it 2-0. And the cliches out there, I'm not going to repeat it because it's always said. And Sporting and we knew coming into this season that Sporting Kansas City, it was going to be a year of change. It was going to be a year of transition. Sporting director David Lee, he's like, yeah, we're bringing in 12 to 14 people, and it's going to look different out there. And one of the folks that has been a focal point of this offense, you saw him in Los Angeles, and he was, it's like feed it to the bishop, and he'll lock it down. He comes in late, and it's almost like, coming off the bench, he'll knock down the three and get you back into a game. And now he's given a chance to kind of flourish at Sporting, but there's not a whole lot of support for him. And so Dejan Joveljic gets a goal to make it 2-1. Things get interesting, and it was only 4 minutes after it was 2-0 that Joveljic gets credit for the goal. So here's the Joveljic 2-1 goal. Sporting makes it closer.
It's efficient here now from Reynolds, lays it across. Joveljic! A stunner from the Serb! Sporting sniper strikes again. Celebrations all too short-lived. And the visitors are right back in it, 2-1.
In the penalty box, this is quick. It's a turnover in possession. The 2v1 overload wide sends Justin Reynolds here. Good combination play. But watch Joveljic. He knows that he doesn't need to run in because the space isn't in. Once it's occupied in the wide channel, he knows to pull away. He does this at the top of the box. The prep touch for me is wonderful.
There you go. Dejan Joveljic makes it 2-1. And with Sporting, you're focused on getting that goal to make it 2-1. And then for them, they're getting close. What was it like in the 50s and 60s seeing Sporting respond the way that they did to that second goal by RSL?
They made some tactical changes throughout the second half. I thought Rafael Wicki did some really nice changes to just generate a little bit more in the middle third, get some possession. But ultimately, you've got a player like Joveljic, like it is so scary when you have a center forward on the opposite team that does not need to touch the ball that much, and they can still do that. That was not me as a player. The more I touched the ball, the better I felt. I got more swagger going. Like, I needed to feel the ball. So it is mind-blowing for me when I see a center forward, and there's plenty of them that don't need to be super involved. And I even said it before half, this is scary because you've got Joveljic on the other side who can take one opportunity and score. That's exactly what he did here. They weren't coming and coming and coming with opportunities. I will give credit, the combination play was nice in the wide area, but he takes a touch with pressure and absolutely bangs it to the far post and hadn't touched the ball in quite a while. And so I just think it's overly impressive. But Sporting Kansas City, as much as they got into the game, they weren't generating a lot in the attacking third. And that was the part that was very difficult for them.
Yep. And so it's 2-1. And then Sporting once again trying to get the equalizer. And then 23 minutes later, less than 10 to go, it's another one of the meddling kids. If it wasn't for you meddling kids, I would have gotten away with this. Xavier Gozo gets goal number 4 on the day, the third one, and this one puts it to bed. Once again, Apple TV with some familiar voices.
RSL seeking to kill it off. Gozo! Teenager on a tear, and the youth movement is for real. It's RSL 3, SKC 1.
Hits an absolutely pure volley. It's a recycled play. They keep it in. Kalaskan finds Gozo. The first touch looks purposeful. It looks like he almost pops it up, but whether it was on purpose or not, that strike certainly was, and he gets it to that far post. It's an absolute thing of beauty to extend this lead.
So was it purposeful? Did he do that on purpose?
I'm laughing because I'm such a fan of this goal. It's great. I have to say Christian had a great call. The youth movement is for real. I was like, that's an awesome call. So apparently in the post game, he said it was not on purpose, and he was like, oh no, and he had to strike it. The reason I said that, I was like, I doubt it was on purpose, but the way he tilted his foot, you kind of pop it up with the outside of your foot in training all the time to mess around and hit balls. And I'm like, if this was on purpose, this kid is more unreal than I thought he was.
Where does Christian come up with all of these alliterations?
I don't know. He's so creative. I could never do it. I don't have that side of my brain for sure. I'm definitely more like X's and O's, but maybe he practices them. I'm not sure, but he's been around for a while. So
Yeah, and that, well, that's, I mean, but with him and the alliteration and you and the X's and O's, then this is why I like to have you in here on Tuesdays to break down what you saw on the weekend so people can X and O their way through situations. Like if they'll see a highlight or something that's similar, or if they see these athletes out there and they're watching games or whatever, then they know what they're expecting because of what we've been talking about. When you're having the kind of game that Solon's has, and it's crossbar, just missed, you know, when you're a coach and you see the kind of day that Solon's is having early, and you try to keep them from dropping their shoulders and tucking their chin, how difficult is that to make sure that those young talented players don't do that? Because obviously when we're young, hearts on our sleeve and everything, swings of emotion, there's the being even keeled can be very, very rare. How do you bring a younger player back to center? It's like, okay, good, good shot, everything's cool, just keep doing what you're doing, because sometimes we can talk and it may not register.
well, let's use salons as an example. We talked about the X's and O's. So before we get to the mental side of it, his two chances that went off the crossbar. The first one, he's sprinting through the penalty area. There's pace on the ball. There's not much more you can do but just get there. Like you can't sit there and break it down and go get your foot over the ball, things like that, because it was this bang bang play. Mm-hmm. So to me, I'm going great run. If that ball's on the ground, it's much easier for you. You're in the right space at the right time. Unlucky. I truly believe that about that opportunity. The second opportunity, the fact that he was able to get it in the middle of the penalty box, turn and shoot was unbelievable, and it was due to his movement. He couldn't strike through the ball, which is what keeps it down and keeps it low because the defenders were so close. So he had to just get it on frame. I think he did everything right. If he's an inch closer, maybe it goes up into the upper part of the net and it's a goal. So what I would do with a player like that that's young and with those particular opportunities is tell him that I was excited about how much chance creation he was giving, not only for himself, but also what he was creating for his teammates by his industrious, by his movement. He was also, in my opinion, pushed in the back for that 1v1 at the end of the first half that Pulse Camp ended up saving. So nines are not going to necessarily hear that. Like they're going to be like, yeah, whatever, I should score every goal I ever shoot, like every opportunity. But it does register. And so you have to be that voice of reason of you're not going to score every goal. But what I love is what you're doing here. And here's why. And just keep them focused on that chance creation. Keep them focused on other people and how they make them better, because they naturally have the ability to score goals and it'll come.
And with what we're seeing with Pablo Mastroeni, like I said, I know early in the year when you had all the injuries, it was Yedlin, it was Anelli, it was Luna. You had two other players that were injured, and he's having to throw the kids in. And it's just like, yeah, all right, fine. They've thrown in. They've figured that they can handle the heat. No worries here. How dangerous is RSL right now? Because you know there's going to be that point of the season where as a kid you're going to bonk. You're going to hit that wall. Mm-hmm. And then you find out about yourself and you push through it. But how dangerous can they be in the West this year?
You just don't want them to hit the wall all at the same time. That's the big part. I think they can be incredibly dangerous. I don't think they're just a contender. I think they're going to make some high-level teams very uncomfortable. For Pablo Mastroeni, I think the fact that he was able to show this, who cares? If you're old or good enough, you're old enough. Like, go, let's do it. And he started the season that way. It might feel from the outside that, well, he had no choice. He had to play the younger players. But the reality is players don't see it that way. Players see it as he believes I can come in here and make a difference. And so when you go in and you have your coach helping you feel like you're good enough, and Pablo's a great personality and he's intense and he's about confidence and mentality. I think that really serves as a catalyst for young players to feel like they belong And that's a scary thing if you're opposition when you have young players that feel like they belong early.
Nothing like your head coach, Yolo Mastroeni, so early in the season. So where are you heading this weekend?
I am heading to nowhere. I am home.
Nice.
I am home. I have a bye weekend, so I am here.
Sweet. So you get to kind of kick back and watch everything. All right, so then let's talk NWSL. Since you started your weekend,
Okay.
you left early. You left the house early. Owen's like, yeah, okay, whatever.
Nonstop.
Yeah, it's like
Nonstop flights.
nice. See, now that's important too, is to make sure that you're not hanging in an airport someplace. Oh, that reminds me.
I don't get those very often, so I was excited about that.
So then, all right, so checking in, did you have to stay in line long?
No, it was really, really easy in Salt Lake and in Raleigh. Raleigh just doesn't have a lot of nonstop, so it was nice to have that. But Clear is my best friend.
Well, I've got pre-check myself. I'm right there with you. You go out there early. You watched Utah and crud. Who was it that Utah was playing? Chicago. That's right, because I had Chicago questions. It was a penalty that was ultimately the decider. Utah gets the win 1-0. Chicago, you're kind of wondering what's up with Chicago over the last couple of seasons. So I will ask you, Kacey White, what is up with Chicago?
I don't know if I have a good answer for this.
The big exhale.
Do my best. No, I do think the biggest issue, in my opinion, is the ability to penetrate vertically with multiple players. They've got a Jamise Joseph who is coming into her own. She's still young. And it's not so much just the absence of Mallory Swanson. Like, obviously, that's huge. Like, she changes teams. But I think, just like we were talking about with Real Salt Lake, how they have all these different players that are popping around and that are dangerous and are scoring goals and they're scoring by committee in a lot of ways. For Chicago, I think not having multiple players clicking on all cylinders in the attacking third is tough. What that does is it allows teams to scout and key in on one player, two players, and then that puts more pressure on the midfield. Then the midfield, if they can't control it, it puts more pressure on the back line. And so you're just seeing, I think, that piece that if they're not going to possess, they don't have the ability to go long like they did with Ludmila plus Jamise Joseph. They had two options that were very dangerous going forward last year, which helped them at times.
1-4 in their first 5. Below them right now, racing Louisville, who only has the 1 point in their first 4 matches. Boston Legacy, you understand with an expansion team that it's going to take a little bit of time to kind of get things going. They've only got 1 goal in their first 4. Then things start to pick up. Gotham, 5 points in their first 5. Courage at 5 points. Kansas City, they're at 2-3. Bay is at 2-2, and they're at 6 points. A lot of folks with 6 points literally right now. And then you end up with Washington, Denver, Bay, Kansas City all at 6 points. That gets you to Utah with their win, gets them to 7 points. Pride is at 8. Houston and Angel City both 3-1 in their first 4. Seattle and Portland 3-1 in their first 5. San Diego, with all the investment that they made in the offseason, right now 4-1 in their first 5, 12 points top of the ladder, scored 8, and they have not. They've given up 3, and they've still got folks coming in. This Macario person, I've heard she's okay.
I was just going to say that. That's without Kat Macario.
Yeah, and so when you look at the NWSL right now, top to bottom, and this is just from 30,000 feet, what sticks in your head?
Well, you mentioned San Diego. That one sticks in my head because I really was like flabbergasted last year with them because I thought they were such a lovely team to watch and they created so many chances, but they really couldn't quite figure out the 9 position. They rotated a couple players through there. So the fact that they've had Leah Godfrey step in and score goals, now they've got Kat Macario coming, like they are figuring that out. So that really stands out to me. I also think the win that Washington got was really important for the Spirit on Sunday. They were 2 very bizarre goals, but when you are searching for that win and you are a team that has gotten to the finals the last 2 years and you're struggling at the start of the season to a degree, you don't care. Just let it go in. So what stands out to me overall is when I look at the standings, it's still anybody's game. You know, it's so close, and one win here or there completely changes the look. That's the NWSL. That's how it is every year. And so I think we can't really judge too much on where the standings are.
Yeah, I mean, you're 4 or 5 matches in. I didn't know if, when we get to this point of the season, it's like, okay, I noticed this blip here. San Diego, they put the pedal down. Kansas City dealing with injuries. We think they'll come back to the mean, all those kinds of things. Expansion teams being who they are, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, as kind of like a running thing, I do want to get your thoughts on the NWSL as we go. So since you are not going anywhere, and this is the bye week for you, are you going to set your alarm to like not go off on Saturday morning and sleep into like 7:15 or something?
My alarm is not going off any day this week. I'm going to tell you that right now. I had a crazy 3-week stretch, so I'm working my way back. I'm a little tired, but I'm keeping the energy going. Yes, I am just honestly taking time. My dad's coming in town today, so I get to hang with him. I'm going to a Savannah Bananas game this weekend in Chapel Hill. I've never been to one, so do some fun things like that around here.
As you should. As always, Case, it's great to catch up with you on Tuesdays after your Orange Theory Fitness Madness in the 9 o'clock hour, and then you get to hang out with us at 10 o'clock. Enjoy your off week, and we'll catch up with you again same time next week, and we'll talk things. That's the official term. Good to see you, my friend.
I do have for next week my player predictions for the U.S. women's national team pool. Dell asked last week, so I'll tease that, and we'll talk about it next time.
You got it. All right, so we're going to talk women's national team next week. That's a bet. Go enjoy your time off.
Okay, thanks so much. Have a good one.
You too. KCD, where's she be? She'd be on a week off. She's on vacation. She's on a week off. She's doing nothing. As well she should. One of the hardest working people in show business. That reminds me. I gotta check and see if Jamie's going to respond to an email. Jamie Watson and KCD. That's a dangerous duo. So it's great to catch up with KCD and find out what's going on in her universe and let you know. But Abby, you were catching up on Ajimong, and it was really the top story here this morning, and it was an Achilles. And so he is out, obviously, for the World Cup, and it happened in the first half of the Derby County match in the win over Stoke, taken off the field on a stretcher in the first half, and so undergoing a further assessment of the injury, obviously. And so then it is obviously a big blow to the depth of the men's national team and taking that different perspective up top. And so not having Patrick Ajimong suffered a ruptured Achilles. And so obviously Patrick Ajimong out for quite a while. And Derby County says it's a serious Achilles tendon injury, and The Athletic is saying that it is a ruptured Achilles. So depending on which aisle in the store you look at, it's either a serious Achilles injury or it's ruptured. So out for the foreseeable future, and then the race continues to try to figure out how you want to fill in that space up top. Now it's Haji Wright, Ricardo Pepi, Flair, and Balogun, and you don't get that change of pace with Big Pat. And so that's kind of what you're staring at right now. So, yeah, and Bart definitely, with the conventional wisdom from the USM&T perspective, Clear Potch valued him highly, planned to use him this summer. So when you can have that kind of change of pace, when you can have that available to you, when you have somebody who's 6'4" and looks like a rush end, now you don't have that, and now you've got to figure out, okay, pretty much the same body type with Haji Wright, and Bart, you can tell me that I'm wrong and I'm stupid. Same body type, I'm thinking, with Balogun and Haji Wright. The only thing different is really age and experience. Ricardo Pepi, different kind of athleticism and slightly different approach. So now you got to figure out how you want to do things up top. But yeah, when you get that change of pace like that with Big Pat, Now he's going to be spending the rest of this season trying to figure out how just take it easy and make recovery at 100% so he can be back as soon as possible for both club and country. Okay, we got into I'll talk about the NWSL, and then we'll circle back to the rest of the week in Major League Soccer and get you into the other stories of the morning. So last weekend in the NWSL, next matchup, by the way, they are in their break. They are in their break for next matchups in the NWSL are on the 24th of April. So they're in spring break. So Washington back on Sunday beat Bay by the score of 2-0. And to Kacey's point, if you get a fluky goal, last time I checked, it's still a goal. Basically, you have a goal pop up, you have a ball pop up into the air to probably the second story inside the 18, and because of the spin on it, it hits the ground and tucks inside the net toward the far post and the far post netting. Hey, you'll take a goal like that. You need those kinds of moments. So at PayPal Park, Washington beat Bay by the score of 2-0. Goalless draw in Spokane between Seattle and Denver. North Carolina and Portland at Wake Med, 2-2 final there. And you had your standard bit of chaos with those two in front of a crowd of just over 7,000. It was a goal by it was a goal in the 12th minute by Portland to get them on the board. And it was Rylan Turner scoring in the 12th to make it 1-0. Matsukubo scoring in the 28th to tie it at 1. Olivia Moultrie scoring 5 minutes later to make it 2-1. And then you end up with Ashley Sanchez scoring 2-2. All the goals happened in the first 37 minutes, and technically they scored in a 25-minute period. 2-2 at the break, 2-2 your final. Courage and Portland sharing the points by the time that match was over. And once again, a crowd of 7,000 out at Wake Med. Also on the board, it was Kansas City getting a win over Gotham at CPKC. 2-1 the final there. And once again, these are the kind of games, especially late in the year, that you really want to pay attention to. Crowd of 11,500 at CPKC. Jaden Shaw scored in the 29th. Dabinia scored in the 37th. That was 1-1 at the break. And then you end up with a goal with 30 minutes to go. And that would be the difference where Michelle Cooper scores. And that would be the difference in that one. Those starting lineups, by the way, for current, and I think that they're starting to at least hit their rhythm as a lineup. Lorena in net, Rodriguez, Robinson, Sharples, and Bravo Young at the back. Croy Bethune and Lualabanta are the two in front of them. Temwa Shawengwa, Dabinia, and Michelle Cooper, and Ali Sentner up top. That was the lineup for current. 4-3-3 for Gotham, and Katrine Berger was in net. Back four, Real, Carter, Sonnet, and Duran. Savannah McCaskill, Jalen Howell, Rose Lavelle. And then you had Jaden Shaw, Esther Gonzalez, and Midge Purse. So that's by far heavyweight versus heavyweight, and it ends up with Current getting the win at the end of the day, 2-1 at CPKC in front of a crowd of 11,500. So definitely Current needing a win at this point of the season just to get a win on the board with everything they've had to deal with early on. Royals and Chicago 1-0. That one was on Friday. Houston and Racing Louisville had probably the game of the weekend when it was 4-3 final. Crowd of just over 5,000. You had 4 penalties in the match. 4. 2 for Racing Louisville, both scored by Flint, one in the 23rd, one in the 81st. And so literally you had 4 penalties in this match, and Taylor Flint puts 2 of them home for Racing Louisville. And then you end up with another goal early in the second half from Sarah Weber. So those were the 3. So here's your rundown of what happened. So you get the first penalty from Taylor Flint in the 23rd minute. And then you end up with another penalty. Kat Rader scored in the 39th to make it 1-1. That was the score at the break. Then early second half, you get the goal from Racing Louisville from Sarah Weber. So 2-1, 2-1, 48th minute. Okay, cool, fine. Then you end up with 2 goals by Kiki Van Zanten scoring in the 50th and the 67th. So they go from 2-1 down to 3-2 up. Actually, 2-1 down to 3-2 up, 67th minute. Then you get the second penalty scored by Taylor Flint, and you're now at 3-3. And then at 90 plus 9, people, you end up with Sarah Punningham scoring. She comes in as a sub in the 71st. She gets the final goal of the night, the 4th penalty of 7 goals scored. 4-3 at 90 plus 9. Crazy, stupid, crazy. Big win for the Dash with Racing Louisville on the road. So big win for the Dash, putting 4 on the board. Orlando knocked off Angel City, so that's a big marker for them at Inter & Co. in Central Florida, in front of a crowd of just over 8,000. Giselle Thompson scored at 90 plus 2 to even things up. And it was goalless until the 84th minute, by the way. Goalless until the 84th minute. Then you end up with Haley McCutcheon scoring in the 84th. Giselle Thompson scores at 90 plus 2, and then McCutcheon scores again at 90 plus 8. So you had a goal in the Houston match at 90 plus 9 from the spot. You had a goal from Haley McCutcheon, Orlando, and Angel City at 90 plus 8. Orlando gets the win over Angel City by the score of 2-1. So big win for the purple team in the NWSL for the home game there. And then the week started with Boston being shut out by San Diego at Gillette by the score of 1-0. So San Diego came from one coast to the other and got the win. So Boston's still looking for A, offense, and B, a win. Denver hanging in there right now. Obviously, the goalless draw was Seattle, and we talked about where they are points-wise, but Boston struggling offensively right now, and they're at the bottom of the table. Once again, it's an expansion team, and you give them time to kind of sit there and figure out, okay, here's our sea legs, and then we'll get everything squared away. Okay, rest of the week in Major League Soccer. Kind of got into some of it, but let's roll through everything that happened this past weekend. And you look at what happened on Saturday, Toronto and Colorado. Toronto was down 3-2, and this was the matchup that finished 10-9. 29 fouls called, 3 red cards. Sure, okay, why not? 3-2 Toronto over Colorado, down 2-1. Then you had the howler of howlers. Well, I don't know if there's such a thing as an anti-Puskas award, but this was certainly it. Keegan Rosenberry, considered as the OG on that one, goes over Zach Steffen from almost midfield, the midfield line, center circle. Goes over his head to tie it at 2, and then a Josh Sargent set-piece header off a corner gets the win for Toronto, and that's what they were looking for when they signed Josh Sargent to the $9,000 gazillion contract and paid the transfer fee to Norwich. So 3-2, Toronto gets the win over Colorado. New England over Montreal by the score of 3-0. 3 seemed to be the magic number on a lot of these. You end up with Luca Langoni scoring in the 6th, Fofana scoring in the 77th, and then Peyton Miller scoring at 90 plus 4 to really salt it away. So New England gets the win over Montreal by the score of 3-0. And then as you end up getting more night side with your activities, you end up with Nashville putting 5 on Orlando. 5 on the 21st. And then you end up with another grouping of crazy goals given up by Orlando. Like I said, like we were talking about before Kacey joined us. You give up all those goals. Orlando goes to LAFC, gives up 6. The week after giving up 5. If you're Antoine Griezmann, what are you thinking right now? 11 goals in 2 weeks. I think they're averaging giving up 4 goals on the road a game this season, the purple team. Salt Lake over Kansas City. We went over that one in-depth 3-1. We talked about Columbus and Atlanta yesterday. Charlotte over Philly by the final of 2-1. And news out of Charlotte, it looks like Wilf Zaha is nursing a muscle injury. So we'll keep an eye on that. Ashley Westwood scored in the 30th. That was the score at the break, 1-0. Danley Jean-Jacques scored with 12 to go. Zaha scored 2 minutes later. Charlotte gets the win 2-1. So that's a big win for them at the bank. Then, as things continue in the Eastern Conference, and I love this schedule. It just doesn't want to behave at all. Dallas put 4 on DC at Audi. Logan Farrington in the 16th. Delgado at 45 plus 1. Osaze Urahide at 78. And then Peter Musa at 90 plus 1. Urahide was named to the team of the week, by the way. We'll go into that in a minute. So 16th, 45 plus 1. 2 in the first, 2 in the second, 4 overall. Dallas goes to DC and knocks them off 4-0. And DC looked completely and totally hamstrung offensively in that matchup. Then Miami and Austin 2-2. And despite what people say and what the headlines said coming out of New Stadium, the gentleman who wore 10 in pink did not score the first goal in stadium history. He did not. Guilherme Biro did for the visitors. Guilherme Biro scored the first ever goal, 6 in the 6th minute. Yes, the number 10 did score in the 10th minute, so those of you who are numerologists probably were rejoicing at that. But Guilherme Biro scored the first goal ever in the history of New Stadium. And continue your puns accordingly. 1-1 at the break. Jaden Nelson scored in the 53rd. Luis Suarez scored with 8 to go. And then it was 2-2, share the spoils. Everybody goes home happy, and I still think the stadium is still too small. I think they had it at 26-7. I think that was the number that was posted. But 2-2, Guilherme Biro. That was the first person to score. NYC and St. Louis City SC, they tied at 1 at Citi Field. It was not the 106-68 in the Bronx. It was something slightly larger in Queens. Red Bulls in Cincinnati. What is going on with Cincinnati? Red Bulls over Cincinnati by the score of 4-2. And you end up with Julian Hall scoring in the 12th. And then you have Buka scoring in the 17th to tie it at 1-1. That was the score at the break. And then Emil Forsberg scored in the 48th. An own goal by Kyle Smith made it 3-1. Then Smith made up for that with a goal for Cincinnati to make it 3-2. Sofo scores at 90 plus 3, and then Alvis Powell with an, oh, by the way, red card at 90 plus 5. 4-2 your final. Looking at the stats in this one. Looking at the stats. 35 shots in the game, 12 on target, 6 each side. 19 shots for Red Bulls, 16 for Cincinnati, 6 on target for each. 6 blocked shots for Red Bulls. 3 for FC Cincinnati. 7 saves on the night, 25 fouls called, 4 yellows and a red, the red to Alvis Powell like we talked about. But Red Bulls get the win at 4-2, and Alvis Powell is not going to be a part of the Reindeer games this weekend because of the red card, unless it's going to be appealed, and I have yet to hear anything from our friend Laurel Failer up in Cincinnati about any kind of an appeal to a red for Alvis Powell. Chicago shuts out Nashville 1-0 once again. When we bring in Max Anderson on Thursday, I want to find out, this is where we get the secret to Nashville and find out how Chicago is continuing to grow. They did not have Hugo Kuipers in the lineup. Zinkernagel scored the first minute. They hung on for the final 89. 1 win for Chicago over Nashville. Seattle shuts out Houston at Hell in a Shell 1-0. Then we mentioned earlier in the show, LAFC putting 6 on Orlando. 11 goals in 2 weeks. 11 goals in 2 weeks. Minnesota beats LAG out in Carson by the final of 2-1. San Jose, in probably one of the more surprising results of the weekend, shuts out San Diego at PayPal Park 3-0. So San Jose gets full points at home. You end up with Nico Shakiris scoring in the 13th. A Manu Dua red card in the 32nd meant that San Diego was playing with 10 the rest of the way. Shakira scores a PK off of that red in the 34th. Preston Judd, 45 plus 3. 3-0 at the break, 3-0 your final. And so the Manu Dua red card means that he will not be available for the upcoming match for San Diego FC. Then the final game of the weekend, Vancouver and Portland. And Vancouver scores in the 6th minute with Ocampo. Then you're tied with Mosqueda in the 36th. David DaCosta scores at 45 plus 2. 2-1 Portland into the interval. Second half, 90 plus, is when all hell broke loose. Thomas Müller scores from the spot at 90 plus 1. Sebastian Berhalter scores on a banger at 90 plus 5. 3-2 the final. Vancouver gets full points after being down 2-1 for all of the second half. Then after the match, assembled media, we'll phrase it that way, the assembled media were asking questions in the scrum of Phil Neville, and Guillermo Mota from Channel 2 in Portland was there when the following question was asked of Phil Neville, if he was concerned about his job security. Once again, Guillermo Mota, K2 News in Portland.
So with the decisions that are made, ultimately it comes down to wins and losses and occasional draws. I'm wondering, as a coach, what level of concern do you have about your own job security? Because some fans are calling for a switch at that position.
Who's calling for my head?
Fans.
Are they?
Yes.
Yeah? Which fans?
Timbers fans.
Okay, well, you know, I work for a club that's got the best fans in the business. And they're passionate. And they want success, and I want success as well. And I think what we're building here is something really special with this young team. We've got a vision to build the best young team in the MLS, and I think along that path there's going to be peaks and troughs, and they're going to be with us all the way. I fully support that. The one thing I would say is that as long as they're criticising me, I'm fine. As long as they get behind the players, I'm even better with that, because those players are giving absolutely everything, and they will get their rewards because of their quality, because of their work, because of their endeavour, because of their commitment. And like I said to him in there, is that sometimes you think that the world is against you, and it feels like that with the decisions that we're making, without a shadow of a doubt. Forrest shouldn't have been sent off in Colorado. Kamal shouldn't have been sent off against LA Galaxy, and they shouldn't have been in handball tonight. So, but that will change. That will change. Once it changes, then we're gonna be a really good team.
After the match, so that was what happened in the post-game scrum with Phil Neville after the match, losing 3-2 after being up 2-1. And I don't think that question could have been any more nebulous, just the way that it was asked. Who's fans? Timbers fans. That was kind of open-worded. But obviously, you're in a circle the wagons moment, and you've been through a couple of these. And with Neville in charge in Portland. So, yes. But, yeah, when you have the question being asked, well, some fans. Who's fans? Timbers fans. Okay. So keep an eye on that, and but we'll see what the skinny is. But yeah, so that exchange happened after the match. Timbers feeling somewhat aggrieved over a couple of matches and a couple of cards that could have swung things to more points for Portland over the last couple of weeks. And yeah, I know, Bart. Yeah, headlines crafted to enhance engagement don't tell the whole truth of the story. But yeah, literally, if you go, and this is discussing what happened at New Stadium. Literally, if you go and look for headlines of that particular match, you will see headlines that actually do say that number 10 for the pink team scored the first goal in new stadium history? He did not. So if you wish to go to your favorite establishment and have that as a trivia question, like if you were to submit trivia questions, if you go to trivia night at your favorite local establishment, who scored the first goal in the history of new stadium? It was not 10 in pink. It was Guilherme Biro for Austin FC. You might win the category, and you might get more points than the other folks. Just saying. So right now, standings after match week 6. Nashville in the East at 13 points. They've only given up 3 all season. They've won all 3 at home. NYC at 11 points. Same record as Charlotte and Messi and friends. 3-1-2. Goal difference goes to NYC, then Charlotte, and then Messi and friends. That gets you to 5. Chicago, Toronto, and Red Bulls, all with the same record. Goal difference far superior to Chicago. They are the only one of the 3 that has a plus. And that gets you to 8. DC United with 7 points. New England with 2 wins and 3 losses. And they're the only team right now in the East at 5 matches played. Cincinnati at 6 points. Columbus at 5, Atlanta 4, Montreal, Orlando with 1 win in their first 6. Philly still looking for their first win in 6. They have scored 4. They've given up 11, and they are 0-3 at home on the road. Orlando has given up already this year in 6 matches 23 goals. So technically that is a goals against of 3.8. 3.83 repeating. 3.83 repeating. 23 goals given up in their first 6 matches. Western Conference, it's LAFC. Still have not lost in their first 6, 5-0-1. They have not given up a goal yet all season. So safe to say that they have found their rhythm under Marc Dos Santos. Vancouver at 15 points, 5-1. Same record as San Jose, better goal difference. RSL, 4-1-1. 13 points better, and they have scored more goals than Seattle, which puts them 4-5. Dallas is at 11 points, same as San Diego. More goals scored, and that is by 1. Second tiebreaker. So same record, same goal difference, 1 more goal scored. That gets you to Colorado at 8. Then Minnesota, 2-2-2. They've scored 6. They've given up 12, and they're in 9th place right now. 8 points in their first 6. Houston, 6 points. Scored 1 more goal than Austin. They also have 1 more win. LAG and St. Louis City, they each have the same record of 1-3-2. And LAG has a better goal difference by 1 goal. Portland at 1-4-1, same as Sporting Kansas City. Portland has scored 3 more goals. They have a better goal difference. So that is your standings in Major League Soccer coming in through week number 6. So that is where we are with that. Now, news of the day before we get out of here. It looks like Wrexham's Arthur Okonkwo has got his one-time switch to Nigeria accepted by FIFA. And so now he'll be representing – he will now be representing Nigeria internationally. So you have you got that to look forward to in AFCON as you are staring at possible matchups and how that goes forward. Let's see, trying to see if there's anything else. We mentioned Big Pat. Harry Maguire's deal we mentioned keeps him at Old Trafford until 2027, at least, option of an additional 12 months. Vinicius Jr. getting very close to the final year of his deal at Real Madrid, indicating he wants to sign a long-term extension. And also had mentioned about Xabi Alonso's time as head coach at Real Madrid, admitting Vinicius Jr. admitted that he didn't connect the way that Xabi Alonso wanted to. And because of Nick, you know, we always try to keep an eye out on what's going on with the Italian national team. And so for those that might have missed, Gabriella Gravina, the president of the federation, resigned after they didn't qualify last week, losing to Bosnia and Herzegovina in penalties. And so he was of the view that Gattuso and Gigi Buffon should carry on in their roles, but Gattuso and Buffon went ahead and resigned anyway. And so Gravina, him leaving in addition to Buffon and Gattuso, that means that the Italian Football Federation, they need a new guy in charge. So now they are looking at a gentleman on the list who was last in charge of the federation over a decade ago. Giancarlo Abete held the post between 2007 and 2014, and apparently he's on the short list to be the new president of the Italian Football Federation when he was the old president from a time of 19 years ago to 12 years ago. 75 years old. He accepted Baggio's resignation back in 2013 after Baggio produced a 900-page guide to revamp and future-proof the Italian game. And the FIGC, the Federation for Italy, put that in file 13. So, sure, that'd be a dude to have on my short list. Yeah, Abete and the rest of the FIGC was like, yeah, garbage can. So, yeah, that was lovely. Okay, a couple of other pieces of news before we get out of here. I'm going to tour the papers and see if we missed anything. And let's see. I'm trying to see. Sonia Bonpastor was not happy. She's claiming that her English players are out on their feet. And so it's tough for her and her side to compete at 100% at the moment. Did you see where if you are if you're in Boston, in the Boston area, for the cup that the world is chasing after, I don't know how many of you have been to Gillette Stadium. It is not in a suburb of Boston. I mean, it's not like if you're based here in Atlanta, it's like you're going to Buckhead or you're going to Brookhaven. It literally is halfway between Providence and Boston. There are times, and literally when I've had games to cover at Foxborough, I've flown into Providence and rented a car because I don't want to deal with Logan, and I don't want to deal with all that madness trying to get out of Boston proper to get to Providence. I flew to get to Foxborough. I flew into Providence and drove east. Literally, it's an hour either way. The MBTA, which is like their rapid transit, Bay Transportation Authority, have come out with their prices for a train ticket from the center of Boston to Gillette for the World Cup. And this is pieced together by our friends Adam Crafton and Matt Slater. They've confirmed in their World Cup guide that a return ticket to and from the stadium is going to cost $80 from the center of Boston to the stadium. Press release did not make any reference to any concession ticket prices. When asked if there would be any concessions for children, adults over 60, or for passengers with accessibility needs, spokesperson for the MBTA pointed to the line in the news release which says all passengers, including children 11 and under, must have their own Boston Stadium train ticket to board the train. According to the MBTA website, the authority usually charges $20 for special events, Patriots, Revs, concerts. Anybody who attended the match between France and Brazil at Gillette in March, according to The Athletic, price went up to $30 a person. Purchase regulations stated children under 11 would need to possess a valid ticket. Prices for the World Cup, 4 times usual prices asked. For a return ticket, 27 miles from Boston South Station to Foxborough. World Cup host committee is also planning bus services to and from the stadium. Multiple sources told The Athletic the modeling for the cost in recent weeks placed the pricing in a similar ballpark to $80 ticket. Sources suggesting it may even be $90. Price is expected to be clarified in the coming days or weeks. The committee was asked for a comment, meaning the Boston committee, and they have not forwarded a comment yet to The Athletic. Group stage games, 2 Scotland matches against Haiti and Morocco, England and Ghana, and Norway and France. France. Statement to The Athletic back on March 26. META said that they had taken on a $35 million project to upgrade Foxborough in advance of the World Cup. META plans to run an unprecedented amount of service, mobilizing up to 20,000 riders to and from each match. Excited to serve the global community of soccer fans coming to Massachusetts. Sources close to the MBTA said the upgrade services come at a great cost to the authority, and they therefore said it's reasonable to expect that ticket fares would increase in the face of these costs. And that was what I was going to say before I saw that, is that not knowing how much infrastructure had been invested, what the outlay was going to be coming back. But that at least answers the question to a degree. Statement to The Athletic. Late last week, the Football Supporters Association, the representative body for supporters in England and Wales, called on Boston to revisit the planned pricing and give fans a fair deal. Extortionate parking charges and likely high taxi tariffs. That's what the FSA is talking about. So, yeah, when Adam Crafton and Matt Slater are up and running on a story, I don't know if you necessarily want them on the byline. And apparently, if you are in Dallas, if you are local, they are asking that you drive, because there are a decent amount of parking spaces. But then when you get into the other elements of transportation, parking, etc., they're asking for different things to happen. Like if you are from outside of the Dallas area, then it might be a little difficult for you to make your way around. And apparently also in Dallas, seat maps for stadium categories may not be 100% accurate, according to World Cup ticket assignments. And so according to FIFA, and this is just in general, not just in Dallas, sending the fine print out, FIFA ticketing or the relevant stadium authorities may determine and change the seat location for a given ticket at any time, including after purchase and on the day of the match, provided the new seat is in the same ticket category or in a category with a higher face value. Please note that it is not possible to request a change of seat allocated to you. And the maps that have been given for those on FIFA, please note that the maps are for reference only, may not be 100% accurate. So as a public service, when you have your tickets, make sure that you can make sure that you know where your tickets are. 9 World Cup matches, and they are in the process of installing the grass. So renovations 3 weeks in. Field level being raised over the floor suites to accommodate FIFA regulations. Dallas police have also received a $51.5 million grant from FEMA for security. $22 million of that going to support personnel costs, salaries, and overtime. And so we'll keep an eye on that as well. So AT&T Stadium, the work has started on the grass. Compare it to what you're looking at for previous matches and opportunities. But the grass is going in field level now at Jerry World. So keep an eye on that. So that is that's your rundown of what's going on, of everything today. Once again, reminder, it is a very, very busy day of stuff. CONCACAF, actually, let's go in chronological order. Champions League this afternoon. Tonight, Libertadores, Sudamericana, CONCACAF, all going on at the same time. So have your devices chosen wisely and all charged up. We will be at Johnson Gainesville for at least one match. I think it's 6:30, but we'll let you know. If it's 2 matches, it's 2. I don't think it's 2. I think it's 1. We have conflicting information, but I will be up at Johnson Gainesville tonight for the match against Westminster. Or matches. But we'll be up there. Keep an eye on what's going on when it comes to all of your favorite platforms and how you get your broadcasts and how you consume everything here at SDH. When we know more and we have official things and official times, how many matches, we'll let you know. So that's the rundown for everything today. Let me say hi to everybody before we do leave and come back with the game/games later today and then back at it again tomorrow. Abby, Bart, Michael Head, Ropes, Ricky Ricardo. We got rid of the bot that was sending us to a Russian website. Morning, David. Stay dry, please, and stay safe. And Michael and Abby and everybody else. Let me see if anybody else joined from the Twitch pitch from a different location. I think that is everybody. So once again, thanks to all of you folks for hanging out with us. Thanks to Kacey White as we broke down her game of the week. And we break down all the other games of the week and let you know what's going on standings-wise. Tomorrow, once again, we have our coverage of the UPSL 9:30. Dylan Butler joining us at 10. CPL Executive Vice President Costas Smirniotis joining us at 10:30 to look at all of their rule trials and how it went that first weekend. And so he'll be in tomorrow. And on a Red Clay Wednesday, Scott New, the head coach at Carrollton, is going to join us, efforting other coaches from other places in and around the state. And we'll have that for you at noon tomorrow as well. So once again, thanks to everybody for dropping by. Thanks for hanging out with us, and thanks for all of the talk that we always have when it comes to Twitch pitch and the back and forth that we have here every single day. Patrick Ajimong, out, ruptured Achilles or serious Achilles injury, depending on who you look at, either club or report. And now it's a question for Mauricio Pochettino going forward. So for everybody here at SDH, thanks for dropping by as you always do. Since it is the end of another show, Mucha Platiel, play it safe. That means I get to do this. Back at it again later today. Westminster, Johnson, Gainesville here on the network, and then SDH AM in a little less than 22 hours here on the network. Atlanta Soccer tonight, 92.9 The Game in the Odyssey app with Jason. Play it safe, everybody. Mucha Platiel. We will catch up with you again later today.